this is typically the spot where we let you know you're watching Worship and Word and kind of give you all this feel
I
good,
can't stand them.
high energy, jumping into our conversation, our topic for this week. Usually that's what
I can't
happens,
stand you.
but not this week. We're just saying to say what's going on, y'all.
What's good?
What's going on? This is Saturday afternoon, Sabbath afternoon. We just relax and we take this spiritual journey and we try to make it super practical or help us to rethink because a lot of us have caused a separation, place a separation between our spiritual lives and practical living. And this is a space where we like, yeah, let's kind of bring these things together.
Yeah.
So that's why we here on this afternoon. And if you're watching the replay of this or hanging out live, welcome. Michael's hanging out with us, Carmilla as well, and a handful of others, at least in this point in our conversation. And let me let y'all know if you were listen.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
Yes. Today's session is not yesterday's session. I'm gonna go out
Yo,
like that.
stop it, man. You had me dripping water since last night.
No, you did that. You were you were spilling water all over yourself yesterday while we were trying to pray. All right, that was
mess.
Yeah, but yesterday's session, yesterday's conversation, yesterday's teaching, when we were looking at Isaiah 52, Isaiah 53, Isaiah 54, you definitely need to go back and check that out, watch it again, take some notes, and not just take notes, find out what the application looks like for you. That's what happens to so many of us, y'all. We devotionalize our lives, and when it's time to leave that moment and apply what we've just experienced with God, it kind of dissipates for us like cotton candy. So, man, yesterday.
Wow, cotton candy.
Ooh.
Sir, you getting poetic.
Man.
By the way, what's going on, Delma? Delma is one of our YouTube ambassadors.
Yeah, the YouTube, holding it down on YouTube.
Yeah. I can't stand, I mean, Cerise, she's officially my hype man.
Yo, Greg, Pastor Greg Fontes just sent us a text message.
What he said?
He just sent a text message of your photo shoot. That's all he did. That's all he did.
It's been 2 years. It's been a while. I think that after last night's reading, teaching, I don't even know what to call it, but last night's experience.
Yeah.
It was sometimes you have to show publicly what's going on privately. Sometimes.
Okay. Yep. That's it. Yep. There it is. There it is. There it is right there. There it is right there.
Yeah. Yep. And by the way, listen, y'all. So those photos are about maybe almost pushing a month.
Okay.
So it's not even like they're new. Like I just took them today. No, I've been sitting on them. And most the major reason. Shout out, man. Shout out to my boy Brian Theodore Brown, man. He's a great videographer, photographer. He I went ahead. He took those shots, and it's because I need a new headshot for the company that I'm working for, right? And so, but we just took a whole slew. He has more, but he's very meticulous. So he only released a few. That's when you know you got somebody good. Like I'm like, yo, give me all. He's like, no. I'm gonna give you what I put my stamp of approval on.
Right.
And some of them filters are mine. I had to, I apologize. Apple Photos just got me filter crazy, just a little bit. So the black and white one, I know you ain't do, but but anyway, all of that to say, y'all, I was sitting on those, and after last night's study that we went through, I realized, go ahead and declare visually. You don't have to share everything, but share enough, and just disclose, especially to people who are in your circle too. Sometimes others may wonder and just ask like, what's going on, what's happening, and something as simple as updating your profile picture can do it. So anyway, y'all, that's it. I ain't seeking attention or nothing like that. I will say this though. I've gotten the poetic bug lately, y'all.
Let's go.
Yeah, like meticulous. I've used that word already, but like really like the scansion and the meter and the stress, the iambic pentameter, boy, like that. And that's interesting as well. Yeah, I know he probably
Whatever
like,
you're talking about.
what is he talking about? However, even with that, I was like, who is this really for? Me or for others? Now, P, when I did spoken word, for the majority of it was for other people. I knew I had the ability and I had the gift, but most times when I created a piece, when I created something, it was to deliver it, was to share it. So I'm kind of in that space too, y'all. There's this balance between what stays private and what stays public. What are some of the things that you keep for you? It's just between you and God. And then what are the things that you can be courageous enough? Shout out to Pierre Quinn and his Courageous Conversations podcast that he bro, I haven't been on LinkedIn lately. You've been
It's okay. Courageous Conversations hasn't been on LinkedIn lately either.
New season though, right?
It's a new season. Yeah.
New season. And so, what are some of the things that you can disclose and share courageously that will give people a window into just what's happening? I think one thing that I've learned is sometimes we're typically in a spectrum, P, where we disclose everything or we disclose nothing.
Yeah, that's true.
And many times, as we looked at Isaiah chapters 52 through 54, circling around on chapter 54, the idea of shame can cause us to swing on that pendulum. What's going on, Aaron?
So I dropped a question in the chat, and you see it on YouTube and on Facebook as well. The question is, when was the last time you documented a major milestone with photos? When was the last time you documented a major milestone with photos? We're asking this question because on social media, Chris was just sharing how he released some pictures that he had taken about a month ago. Delma says 50th birthday. That was a documented milestone.
Yeah.
And Cerise says, I love pictures mainly because I would not remember anything without them. And I love looking back at them. So I will document via photo shoot often, sometimes with a photographer and sometimes a selfie gallery. Just did the selfie gallery for my birthday in July. And I know we saw a couple of those pictures on social media too. So, man, and I'm kind of thinking about like Joshua chapter 4 a little bit, even several times in the Psalms where the psalmist is about, I will bring back to memory, I will share with others. Because for some of us, there's a point where we stop documenting.
Yeah.
Right. So there's, Sweet 16, Carly's Sweet 16, senior year pictures, right? We got pictures from that.
Yeah.
We have pictures from like freshman year when we go to college or we go off to the military and we take those pictures, or we go to trade school. Say you go to barber college and you graduate from barber college and you take that photo, and then you take the photo when you get your first spot in a barber shop, and you take that photo when you open up your first shop for yourself.
Yeah.
And sometimes it seems like there's a gap in there where we just stop taking pictures.
It's been 10 years for me, P. Listen, I've got stuff, I've got stuff when we were at Andrews, bro. And he was like, really? What?
Like I a lot of pictures.
Bro, I was the documentarian. And even though most times I didn't even necessarily share those, I just had them though.
Yeah.
And I'd say about 10 or so years ago though, man, I just stopped. I just stopped. A lot of it has to do with traumatic experiences too, or maybe just life. But I want to say it's a mixture. And so I just, and it's also when I also was no longer active on social media during that time too. Like I just shut everything down. Yeah. Not that I took those photos, to Cerise's point, I didn't take them to share them with other people who I didn't even know, who I, connected with online. However, it's like everything just kind of shut down. And I think that's okay. I think we live in a world where if it isn't Instagrammable, it didn't happen.
We feel like that sometimes.
Sometimes, yeah.
Because remember the pictures we took back in the day, and if you go to those old albums, remember we're old enough to like dropping film off was still a thing. Like when we were kids, like you would take the picture.
Yep.
You drop them off at the bookstore and you get those pictures back and you cycle through them.
Yeah.
And for a lot of us who weren't photographers, we just had cameras. Our photos aren't good. Like they're not they tell a story, as Michael says, you know, pics document or tell the unspoken story.
Absolutely.
Tell a story, they capture an experience, but they're not good photos at all. Like they're odd angles. Like it's just, we weren't thinking about light or composition, rule of thirds. We weren't, it's, you know, depth of field wasn't a question for us, and shadows. We just were excited to take a picture for that moment. And in some ways it feels like, and if the photo is not perfect, there's a hesitancy, I think, to even to share or to present that to other people.
Yeah. That's a great point. I mean, the same thing happens with a lot of us that haven't podcasted or done our first live stream yet. It's because we're waiting for the time, the moment that we get the right equipment in order to have the perfect first episode. Y'all, we're talking about first timers, right? And then that's when it's official.
You know, keep talking.
Don't do it. Don't do it. Oh,
keep talking.
He gonna do it.
Keep talking. We'll pull something up real quick.
He gonna do it. Lord, he gonna do it. All right. So,
you know what, dude.
I know. So, but yeah, it's definitely the balance, though. Gloria says, life is to be lived spontaneously and not perfectly. You know, it definitely is that balance between what you're planning for and then what you give yourself room to just do off the script, you know, as they say, you know, off script. And the reason why is because if you live a life that's controlled, where everything is planned out, you're not really living. Listen, let's not get it twisted with having a routine every day. There's so there are 4 that I try. Yes, I'm using the word try to submit to. There's the morning routine, and there's the work startup ritual, and then there's the work shutdown ritual, and then the evening routine, right? So there's like 4 just kind of baked in. I hear video, I hear audio. Oh man,
this is important. Okay, you come back to routine, right?
Yes,
come back to routine.
So routine. Go ahead.
And just, you know, you just mentioned Gloria's comment, life is to be lived spontaneously and not perfectly, and how we wrestle with that, man. I just wanted to share this because you were talking about some of us are waiting for this perfect time where we have all the equipment and everything is together. Or we, you know, do the thing.
First of all, I'm upset that you found whatever it is that you found so quickly.
Man, come on. You know.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. This is a skill. Man.
Ooh, can we just talk about this for a little bit? This is 2020. This is August 21, 2020. So this is a little over a year ago.
Yeah.
Where we had we were doing worship and word. And can we just talk about how far things have come since then?
Y'all just look to the left right quick and look at the glow up. just look at the glow up. All right. Your hosts have upped it up. Right. And there goes Kirk.
Look who jumps on at just the right time.
Man. Yeah.
And I'm grateful that this is documented. So that we could bring this up. So that we could have this conversation. If you look at this is, you know, the famous Kirk Nugent before he went completely Tony Stark on us. This is Pastor Miguel before he started getting super into his lights and his setup, right? I'm in the corner. I have one light, bro. I just have one light. It's, you know, that's I mean, you got the
because if you were not light skinned, brother. Rough.
Right. You know, you got the theme going on. So
I got the room divided in the background. That's what that was. It's crazy. I said, no, but seriously, this is what I teach people. You have to start somewhere in order to be able to look back and see from whence thou hast come. Hey, that's real though.
Yeah,
that's real. I think that I can't even say anything else more than that. That was August 21st.
Yeah.
So we're definitely, and you know, Cerise, pictures tell a story, and they definitely show your growth. It's with this. So this is where the beauty of documenting comes from, or you know, where this what comes with it. Because as Kirk said, progress requires you to start. Progress also requires you to progress. So many of us, bruh,
we need to put that on a t-shirt.
Progress requires you to progress because Carlos, time is a great teacher. If we started, and by the way, this was August 21st, so this was like 5 months after we started live streaming with Worship and Word.
It was 5 months after,
so this is about half a year and we still looking sketchy.
It's real suspect.
Wow, it was only just a year or so that we finally just got it together. Not even a year, obviously. I mean, maybe 8 months or something. But the point is, if we had stopped in August 21st and picked this back up September 18th, 2021, we would have looked the same exact. Me and P might have, but Miguel and Kurt would have definitely been light years ahead. Yeah. So it's not just starting, but it's also continuing. Because let's be real, like right now, P, I'm not doing live streaming. I'm not live streaming every day.
No, just on weekends, just Worship and Word.
Yeah, I'm in a different space. Shout out to Kirk. I think, by the way, Kirk, I'm thinking of coming up with a live stream for those after work, like a downtime type situation. I think I shot that out to you like 2 seconds one time. You think I'm gonna try to do all of that myself?
Oh no, you talk to Kirk.
Get out of here. Last year I might have tried to do such a thing, but that's where growth comes in.
Yeah.
I realize we don't need to try to do it all ourselves. Now it's great to have the capacity to do so.
You coming at me?
I'm not coming at you.
You came at me last night. You coming at me again?
Listen, you're in a different. But see, what you do is a little different, right? Especially if you are the primary facilitator and you also have to have a pulse on the comments. It's a little different. I think that there is a special skill set when it comes to facilitating an actual room that's virtual, not necessarily managing, but being aware of the comments and pulling in the comments immediately, at least the relevant ones, versus depending on the person who you might bring in to do it. That's a whole nother discussion, a whole nother conversation. Anybody else can probably argue and be like, nah, you can do it. But however, all of that to say, it's great to have the capacity to do so. But as Kirk is saying, let's go, let's do it. All right, man. Yeah, let me get it together. Because I think that now that I know better, and now that I'm around people, man, like you, like Kurt, there should be no excuse for me if I start again that I look janky like I did back in April of 2020.
Okay.
You feel me?
Yep.
Yeah.
This where we at as moms. We want to wish moms. Now you here watching with moms. Mom did a photo shoot for her 65th birthday. When was the birthday? Because I was definitely about to wish moms a happy birthday. But maybe it's even, we'll just say happy belated birthday to moms. And I think this sets up something nicely for us as we're having this conversation, and it's kind of moving it along. And Kirk says having the ability to do it yourself allows you to respect the craft and intelligently explain what you want, and that's a big deal when you're partnering with people.
Let's stay right there, right quick.
Explain what you're looking for.
Yes, stay right there, just for a second, for a second, people. Before we move forward. So when I started, so I'm in a space now where I last year did some web design work. And I felt comfortable being the project manager. I felt comfortable being the person who, so let's talk about the levels. I can't take credit for this. It was in a Clubhouse. Myron Golden was talking about the 4 levels of money. Like there's no other way to put it.
Money?
Yeah, it's like financial, just the lower level, the basic level is muscles. These are the people who are always talking about, I'm on the grind, and they're always doing something in order to bring in cash flow. Nothing's wrong with that. However, that's just the basic level. As a matter of fact, Pete, give me 1 second because I took notes on this.
Yeah.
By the way, y'all, this was last year when Clubhouse was like bumping.
Twitter and Facebook have come after Clubhouse in a very aggressive way and shifted the landscape. As Chris is pulling up these notes, he's going to break down this framework for us. I want us to begin to think about, as we're having this conversation, what keeps us, or what's our process for documenting our spiritual progress. We got pictures from Sweet 16. We got pictures
That's
of
good.
21st birthday, new car, new job. We got, pictures from our live streams, all of that.
Mm.
Do we have a system, a repository? We got old files on our computer that helps us when we pray these prayers, these major milestones that we experience. How do we track them? How do we document them so that we can come back to see how far spiritually we've progressed? We're going to dive into that after Chris sets us up with this framework.
Okay.
And it's I've heard it several times. It's really good.
Listen, so he first starts off saying money is spiritual.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
So when you get to a certain level, one of the shows, by the way, I've started to watch was called Billions. They deal with money differently. It's not, and me Miguel was actually talking about this a little bit last night, Pete. It's not the hard, cold cash in hand that they're even thinking about. Money at this point now for them is an idea.
Yeah. Yep. Let me write this down.
Yeah. So he talks about money is spiritual. And then he says more money requires a higher spiritual plane. All right.
Perfect setup.
So in other words, if you are looking to make more, then you have to think at another level. And he's saying from a spiritual or through a spiritual lens. And so the message that you carry will determine your value. Okay. 4 levels of value. This is beautiful. And I'm glad that I looked this up because it's not the 4 levels of money. He's talking about the 4 levels of value and using value, money as not the driver, but as the factor of what that is. So this is about value, y'all. Okay. Number 1. And this is why we're talking about new season, because me and P and some other people, Kirk as well, like it's different. It's different now. So here's the first level. The bottom level is implementation. It takes muscles to make money. There's a lot of people right now who, like I said, busy doing this hustle. Nothing's wrong with that. I love that Kurt said having the ability to do it yourself allows you to respect the craft and intelligently explain what you want. So I'll give you a great example. I still do design, UX design. As a matter of fact, there's still things that I do myself for clients where it's just me doing it. But that's the bottom rung. And so not last year, but like the year before, I would be the person actually doing the particular designs, whether if it's for web, mobile, whatever it was, I'm the person, I can do it for you. The next level is from implementation. By the way, and he says the people who are the hardest working ones, they make the least amount of money.
Yeah. This is our world.
There are people that I listen to now where now that they are at a different echelon of finance, they speak differently too. When they used to talk about work till you get to, and now it's different. They speak differently now. These are people that we know. And now that they've hit a certain plane, they realize, what got me here is not going to keep me here. As a matter of fact, how I got here wasn't even some of the stuff I was saying. There were another set of rules that I had to learn. Number 2, so from implementation to unification. This is management. It takes management to make money. And so here it is. For the muscles to make money, you're making between 0 and about 40K. You can only max out annually, like if we did this like as an annual income. For unification, those who are now moving from muscles to management, you make between 40K and 250K annually. That's your cap. It's 250K. So now I got to the space where I said, I don't want to do this work because it's beneath me, but I don't have the time. I need to, and this is what Pete told me years ago. He said, you can either do the work, do the business, or make the business. 2 different things. You can either be the freelancer doing the actual work or be the business owner, bringing in people so that you can actually bring in more work and have these people do it for you. Unification. So last year was one of the moments, it happened before, but it was one of the clearer moments. And P, you remember this when I said, I can do this, but I'm going to subcontract out people to do the work that I have the capacity, the capability to do. And so speaking to Kurt's point, I was now able, sitting in the unification, the project manager role, able to tell the designers what exactly my client was looking for. My client wouldn't have been able to speak in a way that would communicate that. And so I was able to interpret in design world, design speak, what they needed, especially because they're using Adobe Illustrator, Photoshop, InDesign, like they're using these things, Figma. And so I can now tell them, hey, listen, when you do the typing, the kerning needs to be blah, 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 whatever it is, right? And it made the work go quicker because now I'm managing these individuals who are actually doing the work. As a matter of fact, I got my first taste of what it meant to end a relationship, terminate a designer who wasn't pulling their weight, to quickly have a turnaround and hire somebody else. Like it was great. So this year was one of the years when I realized that I got into the unification role again, and I said this ain't gonna work. Last year I was okay with it. I was like, yo, I'm moving, I'm managing, this is good, I'm unifying, this is great. This year I said I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
Not because I don't like it or I don't have the ability to. I do. The time.
It's different.
Yeah, it's different.
You know
time,
what it makes
the
me
energy.
think of
Yeah.
a little bit? When I think Cerise was talking to us about an experience with getting a call. And Cerise, if you could give us some clarity on this, getting a call from a hospital and someone who was stuck in a difficult situation. I think it might have been even a trafficking situation, and having to walk some of the medical professionals through how they needed to respond and what they needed to look for, and having this hospital, I think, realize we are not qualified.
Wow. Yeah.
We're not qualified to do this work. I think at that point, as I'm listening to the story and I'm aligning it with what you're saying right now, if I put myself in a similar context, it's okay. I have the ability to speak to transfer knowledge, to help coach people through traumatic situations, right? That's on one hand, right?
Yeah.
On the other hand, now there is, and I can do all of that. I can do all of the coaching and all of the trauma awareness and all of the educating on this one hand.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, there isn't, because I know what the work looks like. I can now recruit. I can now train.
Yeah.
I can now cast a vision so that, and this is kind of what, when you look at Paul's ministry, what he's doing and what he is exemplifying.
Yeah.
If I pour into, if I'm the only one doing the work, we only get so far.
Right.
If I pour into two people, say there's someone that's close to my age and someone who's several years younger who I can mentor and coach and bring up, then the growth becomes exponential from just me doing myself. And I think that's when a lot of us think about the thing that God has put on our hearts to do. Sometimes the misinterpretation is that we need to be the ones with our hands doing it. Right. So Cerise says you're spot on. They didn't know what they didn't know until they were in the situation. I agree. I could be on their task force, to put into place what they need from my knowledge base.
That's good. Yeah.
And that's when we think about, even when some of us, maybe months ago, we were talking about, I feel like God called me to write a book. Right. Well, that didn't mean God meant for you to type it.
I learned that from you.
That's it. And
go ahead and dictate that, boy, and send it over to somebody to transcribe it.
Yeah, like it's your words, it's your story, but you don't actually have to put your fingers on the keys for it to be yours. And let me tell you, all those people you read, Joyce Myers, Joel Osteen, T.D. Jakes, Mike Todd, whoever.
Check the book and see the
Mark
little
Finley, whoever.
See a little co-author.
They do not put their fingers on the keyboard. They tell the story. Someone else takes their words and moves them along. So just kind of thinking about what Chris is saying, we can be, and there is almost a badge that we can get. Some of us are destroying ourselves because I'm trying to work on this book, but I don't know how to edit. God didn't necessarily call you to edit.
That's a whole nother world, by the way.
Some of us struggling. I'm trying to work on this event, but I'm having a hard time making this flyer.
Even some of our favorite artists.
Yeah. Oh, talk.
They not singing words that the Spirit impressed upon them. They singing words from somebody else. You know.
Yeah.
But I love Kurt Carpenter. One album, I think it was the Just the Beginning album. He just dropped everything. He's like, listen, I need y'all to know. And then he said, "Thank you, God, for using me." I was like, but you realize, I was like, oh, you did all of that. Obviously, you know all of that by just looking at, Pierre eavesdropping about.
We just you gotta blame the Holy Spirit for this because
go ahead and blame him. Go ahead and blame him.
We ain't had no script for today.
Not at all. So we went from implementation, unification. Last year for me was unification. I'm like, I'm killing it. Then this year I said, the capacity to do so. Working full. In the beginning, I was like, okay, I got this. But working full time, and then taking that slither of time to manage. Feel like I'm losing those hours where I could have had somebody do that during the working hours. There's a whole other reason and context why it ended up being that way. But the whole point is, I said, no, this can't be. There's no way that I'm gonna run myself ragged project to project on top of what I have to consistently do every day. So the shift changed. And for me, the shift changed this year.
Yep.
Before, and I think that if this didn't happen, this next level, if this didn't happen, I probably still would have been okay being the unifier.
Of course.
The next level, y'all, is communication. Communication is where you use your mouth to make money. And for these individuals, you can make up to 100 million plus per year. The question he has here is, does your message move people? Okay.
Yeah.
So this year I created a course. Yeah, I created a course this year, and one of the things that it helped me to do, and shout out to people like Kirk as well, man. He's moving in this space too.
Yeah.
I'm now able to communicate my ideas, and by communicating these ideas, mind you, it was something that we talked about a long time ago, the whole anti-hero thing, and it just kept morphing and transforming into something different, where now it's actually in a course but under something else. It's like, what's your story, 7-point story form. It's the same stuff, y'all, right? I mean, that's another thing that we have to be comfortable with, is that maybe the timing for what God has placed on you to do, the way that it looks has expired. The way that it looks has expired. The title, maybe even some of the content, even the way that it has been delivered. Listen, y'all, about 10 years before. Yes.
Oh, I got to jump in on this one.
Please.
And it could also be, I think this goes back to what you were saying yesterday about prophecy. Just because God told you in a certain set of analogies for the space that you were in, doesn't necessarily mean when it comes to fruition, it's going to look exactly like the analogy that God gave it to you with.
Come on. Yep.
So a lot of us, we may be missing what the Spirit is doing because when God showed us something, it arrived in a brown paper bag with red writing on the outside, and it was placed at our doorstep.
Yeah.
But we see a person and they hand us a gift box when we're walking maybe down the street, and we're like, "No, that can't be what God said, because it's not a brown paper bag. It doesn't have writing on the outside, and it didn't arrive at my doorstep. I'm just out." And one of the things about prophecy is realizing that the metaphors are not the message.
Man.
We get so caught up in the metaphor.
Yeah.
We get so caught up in the metaphor that it has to be. That's why a lot of us are getting tripped up now as we're attempting to preach and study prophecy, because we are dragging ancient Near Eastern metaphors into 2021 and missing the principle and message behind what God was saying. Think I'm off here? Isn't that how the Jewish people missed Jesus the first time?
Very first time.
The metaphors in the Hebrew scripture, when they looked at Jesus, they said, "Wait a minute, he doesn't look like a prince. He ain't even sitting on a throne. Like, how can he be?" But the metaphors are not the message.
And it's crazy because
help to transfer the message.
Isaiah 53 says he wasn't supposed to look like that. So sometimes it's some blatant stuff that we just miss altogether too, y'all.
Yo,
we
Sean,
missed
I want to hear about this call.
Hey, listen, y'all. There is there is a time when I had a whole, y'all would probably be upset if I told y'all, so I'm gonna just tell y'all so you can be upset at me now. I had a whole website built out, ebooks, blog, but I had the whole thing set up. And it was done in such a way that an advocate of a state penitentiary on the other side of the country reached out and said, "Hey, listen, this is good." Like that is what it was, right? I had this. It wasn't even like I wasn't operating in the purpose, but I knew that there was more that needed to be done. You know what needed to be done? The marketing piece, the building up the email list, like those things. The setup was done. We talk about expanding the house. The house was set. We talked about it last night. But I came across the challenge of actually marketing this thing, right? Amplifying the message. So years passed, come back around. And you know, even Pierre, after doing the conference last year with you, what was it called?
Is it Next Step?
Might have been. It might have been.
Know. We've been doing so much.
Yeah, it was
online.
Yeah, and even Kirk was like, "Bro, what are you doing with this?" Jason,
it was Next Step.
It was Next Step. They're like, "Yo, if you ain't God ain't gonna do nothing else for you if you don't do." And what started to happen was not me even realizing it, but the essence of what I was talking about was the transformative power of storytelling, and that always stuck. And so in the beginning of this year, I pivoted to actually focusing on business storytelling. I bought the books for it and all of that, but even that wasn't enough. So I created now this course. The course only happened after doing the What's Your Story live stream for like almost 20 times.
Yeah, you interviewed. Was it about 20 people you interviewed? Those are good, man. Those are great interviews.
And here's the thing. It would have been just those were great if I didn't package it and do something with it. And because I've always had that was great. I've always had that for years, y'all. And some of y'all can resonate with that, where you are doing great things, but you haven't moved the needle more so that it can be scalable and amplified even more. So all people can say is talk about what you used to do. Like, yo, you remember that time that you did?
Ouch.
Dang, homie. Back then you was the main homie. Hey, listen. So now in this space of realizing, oh, hold on, I can actually use my message and multiply my message by saying it one time, putting it in a course. And you mean to tell me that can allow me to add value, in this case, money, but allow value by just communicating my thoughts and being paid for what I think. All right. So now fast forward to recently, back in the unification, I took a step back, y'all, because I'm like, yo, this is a great project. Let me just get on it. Let me be the project manager for it. And I realized there was something not even in my spirit, just logical. I realized I had taken a step back. And I felt so uncomfortable because I'm like, I'm doing what I used to do and what I was comfortable doing. I am now the person who's trying to manage people versus me speaking the message and having somebody be the manager for me on my behalf to actually make things work. And I said, yeah, this can't work no more. Never again. I remember sending P. He was like, yo, what happened? I was like, management. Never again. Said management happened. And so that's communication, using your mouth. And you're probably wondering, saying, well, how do I do that? That's for a whole nother thing. And they've got books on that, y'all, on how to do that. But here's the fourth one.
Hey, before you jump to the fourth one, I mentioned pastoral ministry. Okay. I want to talk a little bit about the difficulty and the shift for me. And we've talked through this. So growing up in a church where my family was, fully integrated, did a lot of things, active in a lot of the maintenance capacity of ministry in the church and some of the outreach function. So I knew what it was like growing up to work in church. And let me just tell you, if anybody out here is coming across this conversation and you are studying for pastoral ministry, how can I say this? Spend some time as a volunteer, not as a student pastor. Spend some time as a volunteer.
That's good advice.
Because one of the gaps is we'll take a person who doesn't know what church life is like at all.
Yeah. And
we'll send them to a degree program. And then we put them in charge of a context that they're not familiar with. And it is tough to acclimate.
Yeah.
So being a part of that, so going to my first pastoral assignment in the South, hardworking people, small churches. I knew this, man. I knew this. If we got to do something as a church, if I have to vacuum the worship space, if I got to mop the floor, if I got to clean toilets, if I got to sit with the clerk and fold bulletins or pack lunches, I grew up doing that in an intense way. Our church was maybe about 100, 150 at its height. In the churches I was pastoring, the beginning of my ministry, were about 20 people, 20, 25, right?
Yeah.
Then I get to a church where there are hundreds of people. And because there are hundreds of people, it becomes inefficient if I only walk side by side with ministry leaders.
Yeah.
I decrease my efficiency. Now my new role is coaching, mentoring, conflict resolution.
Yeah.
It's a totally, and sometimes from a pastoral context, we can't grow, our congregations can't grow, our leadership can't grow because we won't deal with the learning curve of that new responsibility. So we'll triple down. We're known as, the pastor's always here. He's here. We got a job to do. We got to lift groceries. Our pastor's always there. We love him for that. But we need him or her to now coach ministry leaders.
Yeah.
To now inspire, prompt, use the words to get the work done.
Yep. Instead
of using the hands or even direct management to get it done. And for a lot of us, man, we struggle because our value, we frame our value on what we used to do and how we used to do it. And when it's time to come to a new space and learn new skills, we reject it. And we really cap ourselves. I got so many examples of this, so many things that I've seen. I don't want to take up too much time here, but this goes along with what you said.
Yeah.
Sometimes, and ministry leaders, y'all got to get this too. Sometimes you doing it is the worst thing for your church.
Ooh.
Sometimes you doing it is the worst thing for your ministry. The absolute worst. Because first of all, you're not going to be in that ministry forever.
One.
Even if you do it to you're 70, 80 years old, eventually somebody's going to come after you. Two, you are limited. This is going back to what we were saying before, by your individual capacity.
Yeah. Yeah.
Three, God is positioning people around you to catch, like the water fell off Chris's beard yesterday, to catch what he's given to you. And sometimes we're a block to the blessing and growth of other people because of how we frame ourselves. And we won't let it pass to other people.
Oh man, you know what? You're gonna find a way. He's gonna find a way every time now to talk about the water.
At least for the next 3 months.
Many of us in ministry, for whatever reason, or if you're doing ministry, I don't know where we got it from, but we feel as if we haven't used muscle, we aren't really doing our best for the Lord.
Yeah.
I don't know where we come up with this idea, or if you're not the pastor, or maybe even an elder, if you're not doing anything as a congregational member or leader, with the if you're not handing out something, or then you're not doing enough. Acts 6, y'all. Yep. Peter and them was like, listen, this food distribution act, this is not. This issue is not our issue. Let me back up. It is an issue, but it's not one that we need to take on. First of all, find people among you to go ahead and administrate, because administration is not where we are called in this season. It is the word and prayer. And you would think.
So you mean some of us need to reject administrative posts when they're offered to us because it's not our gift?
Listen, for those of you that are still waiting for a conference call, it's just let me get to this.
But I mean, it's listen,
it's true.
You gotta know.
Yeah.
You got to know, and we've seen this a lot. We see this in the story of David. We see this in the story of David. There's so many things we pull from that story, but David realizes, man, I'm not Saul.
Right.
So I can't go out here pretending to be Saul, because David is not a skill at this stage. He's not a skilled fighter in that combat style.
Right.
So he's like, I'm not even going to go. That style, combat style, is coming later. We see that in the narrative of David, but at this stage, it's not what God had even called him to do. I was like, I'm not calling you out here to fight in that particular way.
Yeah.
And for some of us, and we talked about this with ministry opportunities. Was it last week or the week before? There are some things where there are some things that come your way, not for you to take them.
Yes.
Simply as a reminder from the Spirit of God that you are moving in the right direction.
Right. Right. Man, I remember when he told me that too. Listen, man, I was like, huh, you mean I have the power to say no? Y'all ain't gonna get that, because like every time God tell you something. Okay, so imagination is number 4.
Oh man, yeah.
This is the height of height. So we had implementation, muscles, unification, management, communication, mouth. Imagination is using your mind to make money. You buy back the rest of your life by paying someone else to do the work you could do. This goes to what Kirk was referencing. You can do it. You have the capability. You may even have the capacity. You may even have the time. But the value, see, now we're not really talking about money here. We're talking about value, y'all.
Yeah.
Comes where you now are the person who does the strategy. Okay, so the question might very well be, so does that mean that I'm supposed to be a strategist? Like, I thought everybody has a role, some of the hands, some of the feet, some of the legs, some of the ears. So is my goal in life to reach and to become no, because if everybody was a strategist, then nobody would be the muscle. Know your role. However, I can guarantee you, for any of y'all that have listened to what I'm saying, and it has resonated with you, more than likely, it's time to level up. If you're just like, oh man, wow, yeah, and there may be some of you that is like, yeah, that's not for me. I'm gonna just go ahead and continue doing them. Cool, but just know that there are different levels of value. Now, I think that's the biggest thing for us to take away here is you don't have to feel like there's only one way to do something. There's only one way to accomplish the will of God. We just said that if you just take your idea, you can have somebody now who can put the words together for you. Let's say it's a book. And you just show up and say, I really don't know how to word it, but I just know what the concept is. And now you bring somebody in who's like, well, I know exactly what you're saying. And now they articulate it on your behalf. But that person who's articulating it is not going to be the person who's going to divide it up into chapters or design the actual book cover. So now what they do is they now find people on your behalf to do those things. And those people are the ones that actually do the work.
Remember some time ago, I had a conversation with a famous author by the name of Bob Berg. Like New York Times bestselling author, millions of copies of his book, The Go-Giver. It's an excellent book. I think everybody should read it. Excellent book, right? So I'm interviewing him about the book. And I said, so what's your writing process? He said, oh, I didn't write this. He said, I didn't write this. He said, I partnered with an amazing writer, Go-Giver, Bob Berg. Go-Giver. He said, I partner with an amazing writer. So it's, it's my story. It's, my thoughts, my concepts on leadership and management and sales on relationships. But my partner, my writing partner helped me craft. Like he's the wordsmith. He's the genius.
Yeah. And it's B-U-R-G, not B-E-R-G.
Yeah. Oh my God, mother used to join the back room. Yeah, and when he first said it, it kind of threw me because I wasn't ready for that response.
Yeah,
but then I was like, yeah, that's typically what happens. If you see anybody who you feel like reaches a prominent status,
Yeah.
and they come out with a book.
Mm-hmm.
They 8 times out of 10, they didn't type it. Somebody else
like type because
like
some
type. They
yeah.
didn't.
Some of us confuse, man, and this is why for many of us, and I'm in this boat. I am a writer,
Bro.
Like, listen, like,
bro, Moses could fight.
You ain't seeing him running around talking.
Moses could fight. Moses wasn't fighting though.
He went, and that's where for a lot of us, it's not even that you're confusing, like, I now need to learn how to know. For a lot of y'all, for a lot of us, I'm putting myself in there, we have the not even just the super ability.
Super ability.
Like, it's not even a question of whether or not you can put fingers to keyboard or whatever the skill talent we talked about that last week. Oh yeah, I got to check out last week's conversation. We talked about skill, talent, gift, and spiritual. Yo, P, you broke that joint down, by the way, man.
They need to watch it after they watch last night.
After they watch last, y'all got some homework. And so you're struggling with whether or not you are using what God has given you to do what he's called you to do. Oh God, is this, am I being lazy? Or if I'm not using the very gift that I know that you've given me for this particular assignment, then am I really maximizing, and go into prayer for that. No, go into prayer for that, because I'll tell you this. I'm in a job right now that's stretching me as a writer. It is stretching your boy.
Yeah.
And I know that it's going to make me better at the craft. However, doesn't mean I got to do that for everything that I touch.
Absolutely. Because Paul didn't physically write all them letters. Y'all know that, right?
Yo, you would have thought.
Paul didn't physically. Paul had administrative assistants, y'all.
Yeah, scribes on deck.
Paul had people like, all right, take this down. This is the letter that I'm writing to this particular church.
Dear Ephesus.
Yeah, we think, oh no, Paul had to scroll and he was writing on. No.
Yeah.
It's not the way it worked.
It's not how the sausage was made. And I think that some of us can be even. Man, some of the weight and burden, even during this conversation, can be relieved just a little bit when you realize, bring other people into your process.
Man, yeah.
Bring other people into your process, which goes back to our original point, and then we're going to tackle Pierre's question about how do we document the spiritual journey. We take selfies and we take photos of just life around us. How do we do that for the spiritual? Doesn't mean that you need to share those, but I do believe that documentation is so important. But this goes back to my original point, goes back to the private versus public. You would have to intentionally share with specific people what you are committing to do, so that they know, they see, they understand, and they can help you along the way. Here's the problem. Many of us, we want to talk about what we're doing, but it's not in a way that would inspire or maybe even, even persuade somebody to say, "Oh, I want to help you with that." It's more so to say, "Hey, this is what I'm doing with my life," or "This is what I'm doing in this." That's okay. That's cool. But just know that if you ever come across the question of, "Well, why isn't this thing taking off?" and people, no, you got to be very intentional. Selective, even when it comes to the things that you believe God has placed in your heart to do. Saying that now, this balance between private and public, and it is definitely a balance. We see that in Jesus's life. Mm-hmm. He does a miracle and he says, "Shh," even though he knows, Jesus knows. Shh, don't tell nobody, but I know you're gonna tell somebody. Shh, don't tell nobody. Like, he knows, right? Yeah. At the end of the day, though, it's a balance. How do we balance this, P? Documenting our spiritual journey, and maybe even leveraging some of that as a testimony, because boy, oh boy, the easy answer is testimony's public, prayer life is private.
Yeah.
And I'll go to answer, and I think you probably brought some of it up.
Yep.
Some people have already answered. So Gloria says she journals daily, words, no pictures for years. Cerise, very similar, prayer journals. Not that she's a consistent journaling person, but the few times and have been able to look back and be scared of who she used to be. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I praise God.
Listen, man, I look back on some past prayer requests and I'm like, yo, what was I thinking? Like,
let me tell you right now how I documented P. I use the Bible app's prayer app right now. And the reason why I enjoy using that is because not only does it log the prayer, you get to update and you get to even say if it's answered or not. And then you can go in the archive and look at
what is
the prayers you've had. So if you just use the regular Bible app, the U version, it's no longer called U version. I think it's now just called the Bible app. And when you go into that, you will see it. I moved the widget up for me, but it'll say prayer. And there's a pray now where they give you a guided prayer. It's so good. They've updated it where they'll take you through this first verse is to honor God. So you're focusing on God, and then it takes you to reflecting on that, and then it brings up a text that kind of helps you to reflect on what your concerns might be, and then it says you can go to the list that you already have or create a new prayer. Oh, it's great, and they do it in the story form, like the Instagram story format, and so. After that, you can then review the prayers, and they give you three, three of the most recent or just random that you can kind of go through, or you can go into your actual prayer list and select the ones that you want to remember to actually pray about. It's really good, y'all. Because one of the things that I realize is I have so many prayers that sometimes we pray and then we just forget about.
Let me share this right quick.
Yeah.
And I'll ask you to kind of walk us through. This is the desktop version.
Okay.
But I think
it's similar.
So can you walk us through what you were saying before?
Yeah. So so you'll see it. The prayer widget, it'll look like something like that at the top. Yeah, that they've got there. And I know it's just an example that they have there. But it's kind of in this Instagram stories kind of format. It'll pop up at the top there and it will say prayer. And they're considered daily guided prayers. And what you'll end up doing is when you actually go into it, now it kind of changed, P. It changed a little bit. So I don't know how recent that is, but in the prayer widget, there's a pray now where it'll take you through, and I'm actually going through it right now. So for instance, the one for today, it says, welcome, the God who created the universe is eager to spend time with you. Come as you are. So it first starts off like this. Actually, let me show you. So the prayer widget looks like that, okay? Right. And then after you do that, you go to if you go to pray now, it'll show you that. And then when you tap through, I want to tap too quick. Y'all, I'm going to be seeing my prayers now. It'll show you an honor God verse. I love this. And so it's bring to God whatever awe and adoration comes. So this is interesting. It's important because you just don't dive right into God, I need this, God, I want this. It's now helping you to reflect first on the praise of who God is. And then it takes you to, and even the text, the way that it's just kind of showing up, that whole kind of calm, I think I have to exit out of it, but it doesn't show up just as a blip. It shows up very subtle, right? And so you go from honoring God to your concerns. And I think the next few ones is your actual, and I can actually show you these. So here's where they're genius at this. Many of these prayers come from the Bible, the verse of the day story that they've got. Mm-hmm. So this one I think is one of them. And these are some of the ones that I've saved, or the next one, which is dealing with love, or the next one, which is, y'all, let me tell you about this new project to stay afloat. I might have to answer that needs to be answered. So let me see. Hold on, let me just double check and see, because I know I had a point, but not still open. Anyway, the point is, y'all, Your boy was like, God, we need to come through with something. And he did. So the fact that I haven't, so here's the thing. Sometimes you have a lot of them and you have to go through because they don't remind you like, hey, you remember you prayed about this? You got to do your due diligence and go through it because I got quite a bit. So now I am, as I'm looking at this, realizing, I got to do my own due diligence. But here's the other thing too. When you go through it, there's also a prayer list. That is where you get all of those prayers. Okay. So all of that to say, you can go in, you can tap on the prayer. You can even bring other people in to pray with you or to share. Just want to drop that in there because some of us, we don't really, but there's a communal aspect to this as well. But that's just one. That's just one idea, of how you can actually use technology to document. I use Day One as well. So the Day One app, we talked about this before, a journaling app, similar to Gloria and Cerise. I don't do the handwritten. For me, it's just about really kind of archiving. So it's easy for me to search for certain things and tag certain things. And so I'll use an app for that. I'll have like a journal just for prayers, a journal for thoughts. I've learned to kind of maybe separate them sometimes. I think I told you, and I'll tackle what Gloria is saying. What I started to do as a morning ritual is 3 things that I'm grateful for. And then 3 things that I'm praising God for. So there's gratitude and there's praise. 3 things that I desire from God, whether if it's that day or maybe things that still haven't been answered. And then 3 things that I will do, like myself, like what I know he's given me the willpower to do. So gratitude, praise, desire, and willpower. So that there's so many different ways and frameworks that you can use. Gloria says, my utmost for his highest is Oswald Chambers.
Yeah.
It's great. It's great. She says it has been her devotional for probably 25 years. And she says, I write remarks in the year in the margin. Okay. So like when she's actually annotated that, she'll put the year there, and she wore 1 book out. So she's on book 2. It is very revealing. It's been a minute since I've read with that book.
It's a classic.
Yeah. I think the Bible app might even have a short version of that devotional. It might. They might. So anyway, this is why I enjoy this particular app, is because they've used the feature. This is the UX thing now, guys. They use the feature of praying in the actual devotional experience. So you can actually pull a verse, or you can pull, a thought and make that into the prayer. And now you have technically a more systematic prayer life, where there are things that you have set up that you are praying to God for. Because like I said, too many times we kind of pray based on our feelings, and then we'll forget about the prayer versus actually having a list. There are people who have old school, nope, just they'll have the list here. They make a little ledger or something like that, and if it's prayed, and they'll just keep going through it, praying through names. And so, but yeah, definitely one way to document. Not the only way.
Not the only way.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons why this is so important is because when we look at any area of life in which we're looking to track success, if we look at workout plans, if we look at business, if we look at educational goals, it is all connected to, well, how far have you come?
Yeah.
And can you look back and track how far you've come? What were the things that have taken place? And
go ahead.
Well, sometimes the stagnation in our spiritual growth is not really stagnation. It's more so a lack of tracking, being aware of how you've actually grown in your walk with God.
Yes. God will, he's gracious enough that sometimes he'll give us, if we haven't tracked it, a moment, like a public profile picture, a moment where things are different. You look back and say, wow, from whence, as Kirk said, from whence that has come. Wow. But when you're in the thick of it, if you don't track, it's so difficult. It's so difficult. I would even suggest that you using a journal or an app is you bringing in the assistance that we talked about.
Yeah, that's good. That's good
right?
perspective.
It's one thing, right, to pray and then to in your mind try to remember all of the prayers, but now you're bringing in help. You're bringing in someone or something to now log the very things. Like we said, Paul had a scribe. He had an assistant. And so you're in a sense kind of leveling. Oh, what if we took the
Yep.
the paradigm of the
Yep.
muscle, right? When it comes to praying and connecting with God and flipped it and found a way to spiritualize it. I don't know, y'all.
Listen, there is what would be the value? See, I'm just kind of ideating in the moment. What would be the value of paying someone? And there are services out there for an administrative or virtual assistant.
Yeah.
Paying someone, however much an hour, because there are some reasonable economic. There's some rates that fit your budget.
Yeah.
Paying somebody for 1 hour a week, and you just tell them what you're praying about, and they document it. This person don't even have to be spiritual, y'all.
That's crazy.
Like,
my first thought was like, that ain't no therapist.
Nah, like
different.
An administrative assistant.
Yeah.
And it's, hey, we're gonna work for an hour together. I just want you to write down everything and if you don't feel comfortable, you can just say, hey, I just want you to write down everything that I'm thinking about.
Yeah.
Or you could just say, hey, I want you to write down everything I'm praying about, and they write it. And you could ask them to be creative. I need you to make a PowerPoint or a keynote slide.
Yeah.
Do something in Canva about what I've been thinking about, praying about this week. And then next week, we're gonna review the list. I'll give you an update. I'm gonna tell you the new list of things that I'm praying about. That's using somebody else to help you.
Yeah.
Kind of track, what's been happening and what's going on. Because that's what happens to us a lot of times. Chris and I talk about our thing with journals. We have these notebooks and for some of us, sooner or later, you put one thing on top of it and it's forgotten. It breaks your routine. It's gone.
Bruh. If I show y'all, so because my schedule has changed, I haven't used this the way, I got to find a different way to use it now, right?
Yeah.
But if I told y'all how many I got in my room right now,
right, you don't want to see.
I'm not looking through those.
You don't want to see the shelf right now.
I don't want to. I look at them and I say, what am I going to do with these? What am I going to do?
Man. So, and what about even those of us who have, I think nearly everyone who has a phone. What about the voice app, y'all? You literally record.
Yep.
And this is what I've been praying about, or, a major milestone. I thank God for this.
Yeah.
Just every so often you go back to and listen to the recording of your own voice talking through what you're grateful for, talking through what you've been praying about and updating those. There's so many ways.
Yeah.
And this is why it's so important. And we were talking about legacy and heritage before. There's going to be a part of your personal spirituality and faith journey that other people are going to pick up on. Kids, grandkids, somebody you go to church with, somebody in a faith community, somebody in a knitting group. I'm working on a crochet project with my daughter right now. So there's somebody that's going to pick up. I remember Chris, and Chris is, man, he always talked about how he like every Friday he would just draw a sketch of things that he was praying for. So I mean, I met Chris 20 years ago, and ever since then I just kind of draw a little sketch every Friday of how I'm feeling or how I'm thinking, and I kind of keep those sketches as a collection.
And that's good, man. Because when I think of even as we were talking about now, you mentioned prophecy earlier and how the analogies change.
They do.
Now, can y'all imagine if God really did, and he probably did, y'all, but we done messed. I'm not gonna go down that rabbit hole, but we done messed up when we decided it. Okay, so he gives a fresh apocalyptic revelation, same stuff, with different imagery. What y'all think that would look like?
We're not even ready, bro.
What y'all think that was gonna look like? Because God is relevant to the time and the people that he is communicating to. Back then they were anyway. So what I wanted to say, had to let that go. Man, Pete, lost my thought. I will say this though. So I'm in the process right now of shopping for a financial advisor. And let me tell you something, P. Let me tell you something. Started Googling and I'm just like, I don't need that kind. Like the kinds that I was looking for, like they're dealing with wealth and property. And I was like, I just want a simple, I just want something simple. Now, mind you, by the way, y'all, so I use the Mint budgeting app, right? But even then, I'm just like, there's some things that I just need a better handle on. I want somebody who knows what they're doing to do that. And it came, I'm realizing now that for many of us, this is very important, y'all. You're not able to find what you're looking for because right now you might be constrained resource-wise. And so you're kind of in a sense, not stuck, but stuck doing it yourself until. Don't be frustrated. This is even spiritually too. There may be some people that you can't bring in until there's some personal trauma or whatever it is that needs to be healed before you start. It's real.
That's good advice,
right? Because once you start trying to open up and you haven't gone through the therapy process or gone to that family member, whoever it was, and to release yourself from that, and now you're trying to build and bring people in, you're bringing them into mess, stuff that they don't need to be exposed to. Right. And so you, in that sense, in this mental or spiritual sense, you didn't have the resources or the wherewithal to handle some of these things first in order to get or to expand, like we talked about last night. And so I just want to share, man, from a personal experience, that there are things, even still now, there are things that I am planning for y'all that I don't yet have the capacity financially yet, but that doesn't mean that it's not going to happen. Be patient. Even in your own personal walk with God, where you're just like, God, I'm here, but I know I should be here because I used to be here. Where are you right now? What do you have? What's in your hand right now? God will maximize what you have in your hand right now if you're willing to just open it up. We talked about this years ago, about a year ago on Worship and Word. Like we almost gonna say years ago, where the rod that Moses had did not transform until he let go of it. Hold no expense. Isaiah 54. Hold no expense. So anyway, Pete, I just wanted to throw that in there because we're not just talking about stuff that, we got this. No, like we're going through the process as well, y'all. There are things that that we aspire to do or that we're planning for that we may not have attained yet, but you better believe it's in the pipeline. So we're not talking from a perspective as if we got it all, However, we're making do and maximizing and even being challenged to maximize some of the things that even ourselves personally, we still may have in our hands. Was like, God, I'm not ready to just not just yet. And he's like, well, if you don't release it, I can't increase it. Okay, I'm gonna stop there because that sounded good.
And I think it's very important to us, no matter what phase we are in, to keep a record. Now, Gloria gives us an excellent example. Just because I keep a record of it doesn't mean that everybody should read the record.
Gloria, thank you for that.
Just because I keep a record of it doesn't mean that everybody gets to read the record.
Oh, that would be a good app. A journal that expires, or some kind of, like you just write it, and then because there's some stuff that sometimes you just forget to delete. Throw away. Oh,
we own something right there.
Great. That's a good point. That's a good point.
A couple of venture capitalists, we'd be on our way.
Oh my. Not everything that's documented is eternal.
Why do we think huge companies pay companies to shred their documents?
You don't think the Lord shred them documents too?
Listen, according to scripture, far as the east from the west.
Accuser gonna show up like, well, according to my, didn't he? And God like, well,
There's no record.
There ain't no record. It ain't
There's
even
no record of
redacted.
that.
It just don't exist. So we don't have the same.
Yeah, man.
Whoosh. Yeah.
This is
excited.
This is good. Take some time for reflection. Some of it is for you and your journey, and as you're continuing to have conversations with God.
Yeah.
And to see how far you've come and how you've grown.
Mm-hmm.
There will be times where it's appropriate to share pieces of your journey with someone else. And sometimes it's when you get into a rough spot in the new season, open season, when you get into a rough spot in the new season, when you hit a rough patch, when you experience the blessing of the thing that you prayed for, it will be helpful to go back and see, as Brooke said before, how far you come from.
Let me tell you something about the bottom of the sea. Gloria mentioned the bottom of the sea. Y'all know that we have only still to this day have explored 5% of the world's ocean.
Didn't they say that we know more about space than we know about the ocean?
And you know how much we know about space? 4%. Let's just even add on a little bit more. Let's say even if it was 20% of the sea. When God is talking about the bottom, he's talking about the spaces that we have not even explored yet. We don't even have the capacity, the ability. He's like, that's how deep I'm going to put your stuff.
I love it. Yo, Pastor Sean, man. Pastor Sean gave us our closing thought, man. Pastor Sean gave us. That's our closing thought right there.
I remember someone once told me, quote unquote, people benefit from hearing your story, not your business.
That's coming right for you, anti-hero.
They don't need to know what's in the books.
They don't even know.
Hey, I got to build that out, though. I got to build that out. The different layers of how
Reframe
to share your
it.
story.
Oh,
Yeah.
Because how we share it is so important.
Yeah.
It's so important. But that's the thing. Sometimes it's difficult to tell our story if we haven't kept track, documented some of the key pieces of it.
Yeah.
We see through our devotional experiences, through our journals, through some of the books that we read, the pictures that we take, it allows us to tell that story of our journey with God. And it's going to be a blessing to someone else.
Absolutely.
And it's also, a reminder, keep us humble and to keep us open. So that's something for you to pray about. Pray that the Spirit continues to remind you to annotate that story so it can be shared with someone else. And speaking of prayers, Horn family is home safe from their trip to PA. So
answers get prayer.
Yeah, answers get prayer here on Worship and Word. Chris, I think that brings us to the end of our conversation today.
Yeah.
Man. I know I definitely have some stuff to write about.
Who gonna write it?
Man, that's so true. You got me with that one, man. I think it's an excellent opportunity for us to remember to pray, because it's our story doesn't necessarily means we have to be the ones with our fingers on the keys.
Yeah.
And that's going to be a tough thing to embrace for a lot of us. Can we give up that part so that we can experience greater gain? But that's between you and, so you might as well
go pray.
Or
go document and pray.